one game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. Just gotta mean something to you. It gotta mean something. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2-3. 1, 2, 3.
You ready to make history? Come on now. Yeah. You know, there's these two words. And when I say them, people get goosebumps cause they know what happens next. So without further ado,
Free smoke.
look. Scared cause I'm drowning in silence with bad thoughts. These days I don't have nothing to say, man, the bag talks. I put in headphones on my driver. Pull up to the spot and give a good dick and Godiva. I can't lie, I'm uninspired. No more pillow talking about nonsense. I only stick around to put some band-aids on my conscience. I don't know why I feel so bad, nigga. That's what we do, no foundation. We don't build no more, we just screw. Half a bottle of Henny, girl, I'm going with the wind. The same niggas say they happy for me, ain't want me to win. So I'm done on my friends. Don't need help popping Coronas and reminiscing. I just call up Big Bro J and say it's time for venting. If I live forever, I hold this hate for some centuries. You don't know how much I have you doing what it meant to me, but motherfuck all that. I don't even offer up the time to make the call back. Stupid Lodo, if they don't get the picture now, man, I crop them out of the photo. I can't relate to my peers. Been doing this shit for years. I'm motivated by fears. I took the wheel and I steer. My sound not dictated by fuck boys in Atlanta. Stay gifted like this album was ghost written by Santa Bars forever, like they decided to throw me under Slammer. Every song's a hit like they picture me underhanders. I could drop 1,000,000 songs, but they never gon' understand us. Soapbox sermons for niggas never giving chances. Fight our whole lives to get these weak ass advances. Work twice as hard for the shit that they getting handed. And this ain't even nothing we chose, nigga, we branded. Still can't tell why all of these niggas mad at me. I'm trying to get 100 so I can put my team on salary. Give it all to the art, man, I turn my life to a gallery. Man, damn, what a fucked up masterpiece. 1,100 shots and I swear, man, I felt them all. If we ain't even good on our blocks, man, who can we call? Pre-decline state of mind, we broke crabs in the barrel. Got us fighting our folk, man, this shit just a life of peril.
Winning has a price. And leadership has a price.
That's another root of human struggle, worrying about other people's perceptions about who you are. Like, why would you ever care about that, you know? And I think that I fell victim to that in my past, of worrying about things that I can't control. You know, if the people understood what words could do to a human being, especially where we are in today's society, then they wouldn't be invested in that.
Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Saint. Bro, we got a lot to talk about. Free agency, NFL free agency. It seemingly has come and went. Well, it really ain't gone nowhere because it's going to last until the season start, really. So, I mean, free agency really is a non-ending thing until it actually ends, which is technically when the season starts or when they report for training camp, technically, even though you can still sign people after that. And obviously you can sign people in the season. So really, we only care about the beginning of free agency. You know what I'm saying? The big moves. Because when we think about it, free agency take a little minute, you know, but nonetheless, I hope everybody out there is having a dope day, bro. I appreciate you for being here. You could have been anywhere else in the world. Maybe you were. But to stop back by here to check out the kids show, I appreciate you greatly for it. And we got a lot to talk about. You know, first off, I just want to say, I understand now why Jordan don't like Isaiah Thomas, bro. I get it. It's crystal clear, bro. Buddy is a hater. But we ain't here to talk about basketball. We here to talk about the NFL because so many moves was made. I was watching a show last week. I wasn't really watching the show as much as I was watching a snippet of a show. And they was talking about the running back free agency market. And I can't even remember who it was, but one of the insiders or whatever specifically said it's a lot of running backs in the draft that could get drafted. So this running back market was bad last year. It'll be worse this year. The running backs on the market going to be starving for contracts and yada, 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 trying to take what they can get. And it's very interesting. It was very interesting when I'm thinking about him saying that, because now that we realize all of the top running backs got signed within 1 or 2 days. Yeah, it's just further proof they don't always know what they're talking about. But the thing that I like the most about a lot of these running backs getting signed is that they went to better situations. So it's not like they just signed somewhere for big money or for, another contract because their team didn't want them. Most of these running backs, if not all of them, went to better situations. So the biggest one, and we're going to talk about the Eagles all for a lot of the show, but Saquon Barkley signed with the Eagles. Derrick Henry signed with the Baltimore Ravens. Tony Pollard signed with the Tennessee Titans. Austin Eckler signed with the Commanders. Gus Edwards signed with the Los Angeles Chargers. Where was the other big ones? Josh Jacobs signed with the Packers. Once he signed with the Packers cut Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones ended up signing with the Vikings. I believe that is all the big running back moves that were made. Hold up. Yeah, that was all the big running back moves made. So every single one of the top running backs on the market got picked up. And I think they all went to better situations. Saquon going from New York, the Giants, to to Philadelphia is, oh my goodness. That's the type of move that make you want to, if you Jason Kelsey, you like, maybe I'll retire a year too early. Josh Jacobs, he went to a better situation going to the Packers. Derrick Henry went to a better situation going to the Ravens. Jones Jones is the interesting one because I don't think he went to a better situation, but he didn't want to leave the situation he was in. He just didn't want to take another 50% pay cut from what I read. So that's an interesting one, but he is a Viking. The Vikings releasing 2 starting running backs in back-to-back years and somehow ending with Aaron Jones is insane. But Austin Eckler, I don't really know if he went to a better situation either, going from the Chargers to the Commanders, because I don't know what the Commanders offense is going to look like this year. Also, you imagine that the Chargers would be a better team with Jim Harbaugh as the head coach. So I'm interested to see that situation. I also cannot say, even though I just said that about Austin Eckler, I also don't know. I don't know if Gus Edwards, I don't think Gus Edwards went to a better situation leaving from Baltimore to the Chargers, because obviously the Baltimore Ravens are a better run team than the Chargers. But a lot of these other running backs went to better situations. So some other big moves. The Texans made a lot of big moves also, because the Bengals released Joe Mixon. Then I guess they unreleased him and traded him to the Texans. That is a great move for the Texans if Joe Mixon still have anything in the tank. And I think Joe Mixon is an underrated running back. He haven't gotten a lot of. He played in Cincinnati for one, and he was in Cincinnati before Joe Burrow got there. So he played a lot of years where nobody gave a damn about Cincinnati. Not to mention, I think Joe Mixon was in Cincinnati for so long, anyways, because of what happened to him in college. So his market wasn't like it would have been if he was a top tier running back who hit free agency early in his career without any type of baggage. But he took a lot of pay cuts with them to stay with the team to try to win a championship with Joe Burrow, himself, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. And they had a great defense at one point in time, but that started to get, pieces started to lead the defense last year and the year before. So he now ends up with the Texans. And if he is still a great running back, and I think he got a lot left in the tank, I think the Texans just made a great move. They also signed Danielle Hunter from the Minnesota Vikings. That is also a great move. You pair him with your draft pick from last year, Anderson. And I'm drawing a blank right now on the Texans' name, bro. I might not have said Will Anderson might not have been his name, but I think it is. I could be tripping. But you know who I'm talking about. The draft pick that they drafted on their defensive line last year, you bring over Danielle Hunter, who I think had a career year last year in sacks. I think last year was the most sacks he had in the season. If not, I think it was like his second most sacks in the season, but I think it was his most. Either way, Danielle Hunter is a great player. He done played with some good Viking teams, some bad Viking teams. I think he wanted to be a free agent on another team like a year or two ago, but nonetheless, him going to not only do he go to a different team, so he get out of Minnesota, he go to a team on the up and up, a team that clearly has a bright future. The Texans made a lot of great moves. I'm not going to lie. I like the Joe Mixon trade, and I like the Danielle Hunter signing. Xavier McKinney for the Packers. I like that move. They needed help in the secondary. Now, the interesting thing for the Packers is they must really think Xavier McKinney is a great player to fit their scheme, because usually they would just draft at that position. But if you look at them in the past, they went out and got, what's my man, the dude from the Bears? I can't remember his name at the moment. They went out and got, Hall of Fame, my man's Charles Woodson. So they do go out and sign these type of players also at this position. But I thought that the Green Bay would have just drafted and developed at that position. But I get it. I think it's a good signing. He good in coverage, great in the box. He got a lot of range. He was great with the Giants. He gonna be even better with the Packers for the simple reason he gonna be playing for a winning organization now. You expect, when you play for a winning organization, bro, it's a different type of expectation, I imagine, that you want to be great every week and get better every week, because you're playing on a team that expect to be great. So you don't want to drop the ball on your end. Plus, them Alabama boys usually, roll tide. But I like that signing. I think that was a great signing for the Packers. I didn't know how to really feel about the Josh Jacobs. So let's talk about the Josh Jacobs move. I like the signing by the Packers, but I think the Packers see something. Either I'm just drawing a complete blank, or the Packers see something that clearly nobody else can see because they around him all the time. And that's Aaron Jones. Because to this point in his career, unless I'm just tripping, Aaron Jones done been the more productive player. And I understand Aaron Jones done been on the better team overall. But when you look at his ability to run the ball and legitimately catch the ball, line up at position, like you got Alvin Kamara. You got Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara, and we know what they can do running the ball and catching the ball. But Aaron Jones is one of them type running backs also, who is phenomenal at catching the ball. So I like Josh Jacobs. I think Josh Jacobs is a great running back, but I don't think he can do everything. All the things that Josh Jacobs does great, I can make an argument Aaron Jones does great. I do not think you can say every single thing that Aaron Jones does great, Josh Jacobs does great also. So that's an interesting move to me, but I think the reason you probably make it is because Aaron Jones is 29. Josh Jacobs, I think, is 26. And so you feel like right now you could get more out of Josh. And I'm not mad at the move. I was just a little puzzled at first. And maybe that could be my love affair with Aaron Jones. But I'm not mad at the move. And I understand Aaron Jones not wanting to split his salary in half again. I get that, because you only play this game for a number of years, bro. You don't want to keep taking pay cuts, especially when you're a running back. And he coming off of a season where he was injured a lot. So, I guess that the Packers might see a guy who they feel like is on a downturn in his career now. I'm interested to see how it play out for him in Minnesota, but I'm not mad at the move from Green Bay. I still think you become a better team with the moves that you made in the offseason. If Josh Jacobs can stay healthy, because he done been hurt throughout his career at different times, but if he can stay healthy, and if his best years in Vegas/Oakland can be reproduced in Green Bay, or if he is anywhere near his best years in Vegas/Oakland, then yeah, the Packers just got a significant boost. I don't want to say significant, because Aaron Jones was a phenomenal running back for the Packers and with everything he could do. But you definitely solidify the running game, and you give what's my man's name? I don't know. Jordan Love, a reliable running back. So, like I said, I don't hate the move. I don't know if the move really, like the difference between them beating the San Francisco 49ers, I don't know if it's Josh Jacobs. Like, I think they could have beat the 49ers last year. I think another year of Jordan Love can beat the 49ers, but it definitely helped. So I'm not mad at that move. I love the Xavier McKinney move, especially because the only reason I think that they would make a move like that is if they really looked at his tape and felt like, yo, this dude fits our system. Because he was one of the best safeties on the market. So I think the Packers are going to, I'm picking them to win that division this year. I mean, shit, you know, I don't care about nothing else going on in it. Yeah, I obviously do, but Maybe that's my Packer fandom. I'm not a Packer fan, obviously, but I've been rooting for him the last couple years. You know, we talk about him a lot on the show. And I like the moves. I think the moves definitely made him better. Like I said, I don't know if the Josh Jacobs move made me think to myself, oh yeah, this the move that put them over the top. Because like I said, I think very highly of Jordan Love. So, and I thought very highly of Aaron Jones also. So I'm definitely interested to see what Aaron Jones do this season, because if he come out and have another great year, I mean, I guess it still won't matter because Josh Jacobs was 26. And so as long as Josh Jacobs, hopefully, as long as he stay healthy and he in 1,000-yard runner every year, they should be fine. But I am interested to see how good is Josh Jacobs catching passes. Now, the good thing about Jordan Love is he throw it to his receivers a lot. So you probably don't expect him to throw a ton of passes to his running back unless they just specifically are drawing up a play for the running back, or if you know the blitz coming and you just have to, nobody open, you have to dump it down. For the most part, though, Jordan Love is throwing it to his receiver, so you don't expect that Josh Jacobs will have to catch too many passes for the Packers. But I mean, you can make an argument he's the best running back in the division now. So I'm not mad at it. I'm definitely not mad at it. You got Montgomery for the Lions. The Bears signed, that was who I was forgetting. DeAndre Swift signed with the Bears. And I don't think DeAndre Swift is a bad running back. I think he's a good running back. I'm just interested to see how the Bears offensive line, I'm just interested to see how he played in Chicago behind that offensive line with a rookie quarterback. I don't know if DeAndre Swift is the running back that I think of when I say to myself, I got a rookie quarterback and I need to have a running back behind him. I understand DeAndre Swift is a vet based off of how long he done been in the league, but I don't know if I really consider him, off of the production he done put up to this point in his career, vet to where the quarterback, the young quarterback, can really rely on him too much. But I could be just talking crazy right now. But nonetheless, I don't really know how to feel about that move quite yet. Like I said, I don't think DeAndre Swift is a bad running back, but I don't think he is a great running back either. But he young and maybe he can change my mind. I just don't think he the type of running that back that some people like. It's Philadelphia fans who actually pissed off that they went out and got Saquon and didn't just bring back DeAndre Swift. And I'm like, bro, a healthy Saquon is better than a healthy DeAndre Swift, bro. It's not even comparable. So I don't understand what y'all saw on film that make y'all believe. Like, the Lions got rid of Swift and they've had a better run game with Montgomery. Like, I don't think Swift is better than Montgomery. To be honest with you, and I'm not trying to talk shit or take shots, Swift, to me, if I'm thinking about the running backs, I would say I would rank him last in the division. I would take Aaron Jones over him. I would take Montgomery over him, and I would take Josh Jacobs over him. I wouldn't take Swift over any of those running backs. And I think the Eagles improved with Saquon. Now, obviously, everything is based on if Saquon can stay healthy, but I'm imagining if he do, then I think you get better with Saquon than you did with DeAndre Swift. So, and I'm also not saying the reason the Eagles lost last year was because of DeAndre Swift. Two things can be true. DeAndre Swift could have done a good job playing his role last year, and the Eagles can still have gotten better replacing him with a better running back. To me, that's just the nature of it all. But nonetheless, when I'm looking at the running backs in this division, yeah, you can make an argument that Josh Jacobs is probably the best one in the division. Nonetheless, I do think that the Packers got better with the moves they made in the offseason. I don't know if I will put them over the Texans because the Texans made some moves, boy. The Texans made some moves. They definitely got the better running backs of the two. But, if Danielle Hunter is still, a great player, the Texans just got a great pass rusher. Like a Pro Bowl, all pro level Pro Bowl, pro level, all pro Bowl level pass rusher. So that could be really what swayed us. And speaking of all Pro Bowl level pass rushers, Brian Burns was traded from the Panthers to the Giants. The Giants extended him, but the Panthers only got, I think, a second and a fifth This is further proof that this team, I told you, bro, they was gonna be cursed ever since they did the shit that they had did to Cam Newton, bro. And they tried to apologize for it, but it wasn't enough. Listen, the Carolina Panthers, bro, this is some of the most ridiculous mismanagement of a of a pro team that I done ever seen. You did not get a first round pick for Brian Burns, which is, I swear it's, I read a report that said last year the Rams was offering them like 2 first rounders or a first and something else for Brian Burns. You get less than that this year for Brian Burns. What made you not trade this dude when you knew he wasn't re-signing with you? I don't understand. I speak about how ego and pride is what fuck up a lot of these teams. Some of this stuff is just absolutely ridiculous. It's like, bro, there's no way you let pride and ego fuck this type of move up when you knew. It's like the Angels with Shohei Ohtani. You knew he wasn't re-signing with your team, but you still chose not to trade him. I don't understand not trading the way Brian Burns, especially after, and he had a career year sack-wise, but what did it do for the Carolina Panthers? I don't understand mismanaging a team this bad. You trade all, and I'm not mad at I'm still not willing to kill them for the Bryce Young pick, because the offense that what you put around Bryce Young was god awful. He had one of the worst, if not the worst, offensive line in football last year. He did not have weapons on the outside. He did not have a great tight end. He did not have a great run game. Like, you expect Bryce Young to come in and carry everything just because we saw what CJ Stroud did. But regardless if we knew the names of the players on his team, a lot of players for the Texans stepped up. Not to mention, he has an all-pro left guard protecting his blind side in Laramie Tunsil. Not to mention, he had a run game. Actually, they did not have a good run game because that was really the weakness of the Texans, which is why I think Joe Mixon does a lot for the Texans this year. But he had good receivers. He did get more out of his running game basically than what the Panthers got out of theirs. He had better coaching, even though he had a rookie head coach. It was a lot of things. It was a lot more talent on the Texans team than it is on that Panther team. And that's why this rebuild look ugly. Because when you look in the Carolina locker room, you don't see a lot of talent, if any, other than Bryce Young. And most people is questioning if Bryce Young is a talent at this point. But I do think Bryce Young is a talent. I'm not willing to go that far right now. I'm holding out hope. But the mismanagement of this team, man, you should have got way more than what you got for the picks, for the players that you traded away. Not only that, to give up what you gave up for Bryce Young, he have to hit for you. He have to hit. And I'm not blaming him for his first year. It was a bad year, but like I said, he had a lot of shit going left for him when he was trying to go right. Not to mention, I never understood the Frank Wright hiring. I don't understand how he got fired from the Colts mid-season and then immediately ended up with the Carolina Panther head coaching job. That was absolutely insane to me. That right there showed me that David Tepper and the GM for the Carolina Panthers did not care too much or understand too much about what they was doing, because those is just insane type moves to make. But nonetheless, that's the Carolina Panthers, bro. Who knows what happens with them this year? I do know that Baker Mayfield got re-signed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So they re-signed Baker. They re-signed Mike Evans. I mean, and honestly, they probably going to finish in second this year, because right now I'm leaning, I got a heavy lean going on right now towards the Falcons, because Kirk Cousins, I believe in him more than I believe in Baker Mayfield. And Kirk Cousins signed with the Atlanta Falcons. So right now I'm leaning heavily towards that as my pick for who's going to win the division, because I like the weapons that the Falcons have, and I like Kirk Cousins. And if it's anything that the Bucs is missing, aside from the fact that I just don't think Baker Mayfield is a great quarterback and he can still be bad on a week-to-week basis, just throw him out there and watch. I kind of like that. This might be Kyle Pitts' best year as an NFL pro, because Kirk Cousins definitely going to find him. Drake London probably going to have a career year. Like, I can see Kirk Cousins throwing for a lot of yards. And it's not like he playing in the division that's just, oh my God, it's the toughest division. That's not what he's dealing with. This was a division that was one of the worst in football last year, if not the worst in football last year. So, the Panthers definitely probably finishing in last in this division again for the simple reason. Like, Lord only knows what's going to happen with Derek roller coaster car, but I do think Baker and Kirk Cousins will find a way to get their teams in first and second in that division. I don't think two teams make it out of this division, but I am heavily leaning, like I'm really leaning towards the Falcons right now, because the Falcons can play good enough defense in the division that they play in. They couldn't score points at certain times that last year because they had to worry about a quarterback turning the ball over too much. Now, I'm not telling you that Kirk Cousins is some world beater or anything like that. It's not what I'm here to do. However, Kirk Cousins is far better than what they had playing quarterback last year. Now, I do want to say the hilarity in Arthur Blank not wanting Lamar Jackson, but going all out for Deshaun Watson and Kirk Cousins. Two dudes who have not played at the level of a Lamar Jackson, but that's neither here nor there. Congratulations to Kirk Cousins. $180 million, $100 million guaranteed. This dude have to consider his agent family at this point. This man is not a businessman. He is a absolute fucking businessman. It's absolutely ridiculous, the money that Kirk Cousins done got paid in his career. I call that good business. So I do like what the move, the Kirk Cousins being the biggest move for the Falcons. To me, it actually do make, like, because I understand if he had a sign, but I think Kirk Cousins would have been a good signing for most teams that he had signed with. And I understand he coming off of an ACL injury, but it's not like Kirk Cousins rely on, athleticism to be great. So I think if Kirk Cousins returned to the Kirk Cousins that he done been over the last couple of years, I think Kirk Cousins would have been a pretty good signing for most teams. Even with the Steelers, who ended up signing Russell Wilson. They also signed Patrick Queen. So he was a Baltimore Raven who turned op. He turned to the Steelers. That's just crazy. But nonetheless, we done had that type of thing happen in the history of football before. So now I'm not finna sit here and act like something like what Patrick Queen is just the craziest thing, because Orlando Brown was a Raven and he played for the Chiefs and for the Cincinnati Bengals. So, clearly players don't give a damn about that. They care about where the money is at. So Patrick Queen signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They needed help at linebacker. Here the interesting, the interesting thing, like I said, for Patrick Queen is always going to be, who do you put beside him? Or if last year had everything, if his great year last year had everything to do with Roquan and Mike McDonald, then I don't know how great Patrick Queen is going to be when he have to be the Mike linebacker, the lead Mike linebacker for a team. But if last year had more to do with him improving and those other two were just pieces in his improvement, then I think you're still going to get a great linebacker from Patrick Queen. But what I do not think you're going to get is a Roquan Smith, Fred Warner level linebacker play. I don't think he that level of player. And while I do think his best asset is his speed, like he is a fast linebacker, that is also something that's done killed him a lot throughout his career. So I'm interested to see how he played this year with the Steelers. Will he regress, or will he keep taking steps to be a great middle linebacker? I do think he's still undersized for a middle linebacker, so that's what can hurt him when he got to play against bigger running backs at times. And like I said, he always make the mistakes of running past the play sometimes, and because he overrun the play. And it's going to be a very interesting season for Patrick Queen, because what I find interesting is he did not get close to what Roquan and Fred Warner have. And I thought teams would have looked at him last year and said, oh, look at this year he having. He done broke through. He in his prime. Now we can pay him top of the market money for a linebacker. Instead, it feel like the deal, based off of the deal he took and the other deals that might have been out there, teams actually said he might have taken a step. However, a lot of his success had to do with Roquan Smith and a phenomenal defensive coordinator. And so that was always going to be the thing when it came to Patrick Queen. How would they pay him Would they pay him thinking that he had turned a corner, or would they pay him thinking that the pieces around him helped him turn a corner for that? So it's interesting. I don't think that the Steelers paid him crazy money, to be completely honest with you. But I do think it's a good move because the Steelers needed a middle linebacker. And if Patrick Queen did develop and is a better player now, then they definitely just got a great middle linebacker added to their team. Now, what's interesting is now that you have Patrick Queen, how do you use Patrick Queen? Because the Steelers like to blitz their linebackers. TJ, and I can't remember Buddy's name. Not Hightower. I'm tripping. Highsmith. They blitz both of those dudes. Patrick Queen, and I understand people gonna, I done seen people already say, "Oh, Patrick Queen, he's so great in coverage." I don't think Patrick Queen is great in coverage. That's why I think the beauty of Patrick Queen in coverage the last year was having Roquan, because Roquan Smith is great in coverage and he understands. Him being the lead linebacker, the lead Mike linebacker, telling everybody where they needed to be. It just, I don't think some people realize how much that could help a player, even of a Patrick Queen's caliber, plus having Kyle Hamilton and some of the pieces around you. I think Patrick Queen going to find out real quick. They don't have those type pieces in certain areas there, but you do have TJ Watt. Cam is getting older, so it's going to be interesting to see how he looked this year, but it was a good move. Now, the move of Russell Wilson. Now, I don't think this was like a bad move or nothing like that. And I done seen people saying that they think that this make the Steelers legitimate contenders. And I do think Russell Wilson is 100% an upgrade over over Kenny Pickett. However, would I take Russell Wilson over Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, Joe Burrow and the Bengals, Josh Smith and the Bills, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, Justin Herbert with Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers? No, I wouldn't take him over none of them teams. And I don't know if I would take him over the Cleveland Browns, depending on how Deshaun Watson look coming back this year. So as much as I like Russ, as good as I think Russ is still a good quarterback, I don't think he like nothing special now, but he's still a solid quarterback. If, he probably on the lines of Kirk Cousins, even though I don't think he is as prolific throwing the ball as Kirk Cousins. I think one of the biggest problems with Russ is when Russ was in his prime, what he did great was backyard football. When the play break down, which almost always happened when he was in his prime in Seattle, he could play backyard football where dudes just run around and get open. He never really was forced to stand in the pocket and be a great pocket quarterback to win games. He didn't have to. He had great receivers who could play that role of scramble drill type routes, and he had a great defense. And they had a good run game at the time also. So you didn't need Russell Wilson to stand back in the pocket and just deliver from the pocket. If he were better at that, I think he would have looked better in Denver. Now, I'm not telling you that Denver was blameless in Russell Wilson. That's definitely not what I'm saying. However, one of the things that I think has hurt in Russell Wilson in his late part of his career, where he's not as athletic as he was early in his career, is the fact that he is not the greatest quarterback from the pocket. And I'm not just talking about passing from the pocket, because Russell Wilson could play from the pocket. It's just that has never been his greatest asset. For one, he take horrendous sacks. Like, Russell Wilson have to figure out how to be better at not taking sacks. Sometimes Russ sit in the pocket for so long. And then it's not even just how he sit in the pocket sometimes. Running right into sacks at times, bro. I know Aaron Donald was just sad when Russell Wilson decided to leave that division, because the way Russell Wilson will run into a sack or take a sack is absolutely ridiculous. And at this point in time in his career, for him to still be this bad at his pocket awareness at times is absolutely crazy. But I still think Russ is a good quarterback. But some of the traits that have made Aaron Rodgers great late into his career, that made Tom great in his career, late in his career, Breeze late in his career, some of the quarterbacks who was great long into their career, one of the reasons I don't think Russ is still moving the needle as far as winning the way we thought he did before, if you thought he did before, was because he can't rely on running around scrambling no more to pick up crazy plays and things like that. And that was a huge part of his game. And because you took away that part of his game, now he have to be more proficient in the pocket. He have to be a better drop back quarterback, scan the field, make decisions. And I don't think he has become a master at that yet. And because he at this point in his career and still has not mastered that part of his, because I don't even think people talked about it enough that Russell Wilson didn't rely on that being a huge part of his game in his early parts of his career when he was having success. Like more times than not, the play was going to break down. Russ was going to get out the play and make out the pocket and make a play. And if they fucked up, well, the defense was going to get the ball right back for him anyways. And because that's not the situation now, because I know people are going to say, oh, it's Pittsburgh. You know, they got a great defense. They always got a great defense. They don't always have a great defense. They have a good defense. It's not great. They still got problems in the secondary areas. You still have an average defense, in my opinion, when you take TJ Watt off of it. He have to make up for a lot of bad parts of the defense. But nonetheless, I like Russell Wilson to the Steelers. I'm not going to write him off because I mean, they won 10 games with Kenny Pickett, bro. With Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. Now, a lot of that got to do with the schedule. I'm not one of these dipshit analysts on one of these shows who refuse to give you all the information. They played against a lot of bad teams with bad quarterback play. So that can contribute to, you know, winning those 10 games. But nonetheless, I do think Russell Wilson, when you play against the Steelers, you don't worry about Kenny Pickett. Now you have a chance to, you know, maybe Russell Wilson turn back the clock. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that they got better. I don't know how much better they got because that's all going to be dictated on how Russell Wilson played this year. But I do think they got better. And the reason I think the Steelers might have a more up in the air type of feel to them is because Patrick Queen, you want to see what he do without Roquan and his defensive coordinator. And for Russ, you want to see, is he still a good quarterback? And so if both of those two dudes prove that they are still great players, one is still a great player, one is now a great player, then you made two phenomenal moves if you the Steelers. But, you know, if they just average players to below average and we hear again talking about, oh, Mike Tomlin just a great head coach, he found ways to get this team to overachieve, then the Steelers going to be back in the same, you know, motion that they've been in for the last couple years, bro. Just finish over 500. Maybe we get a wild card playoff spot. Maybe we don't. But to me, their moves more than anybody's moves is a wait and see type of situation. Now for the Eagles, they made a lot of moves, but the moves that I like that they made the most is Saquon and CJGJ. They brought back Gardner Johnson. So the Lions had him for a year. He was great for them for a year. And now he signed a 3-year contract to return to the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a great move, and Philadelphia going to have to make more great moves to fix that secondary because the secondary was just god-awful. They bring back Darius Slay. I'm interested to see how Darius Slay play because he is older in his career, so I'm interested to see how he play this year. But Philadelphia I mean, as much as I like the Saquon Barkley move, if the defense looked anything like it looked last year, that shit will not matter because the reality is, and I'm going to get to Jalen Hurts in a second, Jalen Hurts is not the type of quarterback to where if you have to go out there and put up 30 plus points every single game, that's not a recipe for success. You have to play complementary football if you want the Eagles to be at their best. And if the defense go out there and pull the shit that they pulled last year, giving up all those passing yards, passing touchdowns, can't tackle nobody. I mean, it was god awful. If that's what they still doing, then it won't matter about the Saquon move. The Eagles have to go out and continue to improve this secondary because their secondary just was not good enough. The middle linebacker, the linebacking core can definitely be better. And the pass rushers, you know, I don't know how to feel on them yet. The Philadelphia Eagles don't play a lot of their young dudes in their first season or two. So I expect them to move in some of the young dudes that they drafted now onto the defensive line. So I'm going to wait and see for that. And you lose Fletcher Cox and you lose Kelsey to retirement. That's two big leaders in the locker room. So I'm very interested. You bring in Kellen Moore as your offensive coordinator. So I'm very interested. Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts are 100% on the hot seat. And I love Jalen Hurts. You know how, if you watch the show, you know how I done talked about Jalen Hurts. But, you know, I'm a fair person, bro. And I said it with Joe Burrow and I said it with Brock Purdy. They got some of the most talented weapons or core of weapons in the NFL. You look at Jalen Hurts, bro, and you look at A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, a great offensive line, which one of the dudes on that line got extended. Now you get Saquon Barkley. I mean, it's just weapons after. What quarterback in the league would not trade their spot? Keep all their accolades, but trade positions with Jalen Hurts right now. If you told Pat Mahomes today he could pick between if he wanted to play with the Eagles and have like that weaponry or what he got right now, bro, you not and nobody could know that he's taking that Eagles core, bro. No quarterback in their right mind is not taking this weaponry. That's why Howie, bro, he might be the best GM. I agree with Dak's brother. This might be the best GM in the NFL, bro, because he forced his quarterback to prove if his quarterback is him or not. He has not at any point in time, in my opinion, not putting enough around his quarterback for it to be all on the quarterback. When Carson Wentz was there, it was enough talent there to understand if it was Wentz or not. He does not leave his quarterback hanging for the most part. If he think you might be good, he then surrounds you with talent and then go out there and basically say, prove it. He made a mistake not bringing back Gardner Johnson. He corrected that mistake and brought him back this year. He did not. And listen, Swift was a good running back. He didn't give them what they needed. So what did he do? He went out and got a player who we think is better. If it's one thing that cannot be said, it's that Howie don't go out there and make big time moves to try to make his team better. Because every move that this dude make is to try to make the Philadelphia Eagles better. And every move he make really is to basically put Jalen Hurts in a situation where it's like, you can't look at me and say the GM not doing enough for Jalen Hurts. You can't, because the GM done more than enough for Jalen Hurts. So as much as I love my guy, this is now an understandable thing if people don't believe in Jalen Hurts. Because now you do have to go out there and do it, because I don't know if it's a better core of weapons or a group of weapons in the NFL or skill group on the offensive side of the ball in the NFL than the Eagles. I mean, this is an absolute shout out to Howie, bro. Bro, who wouldn't want a GM like this? This is madness, man. This is great maneuvering by Howie. These are great moves. And then they made other moves. They went out and got another pass rusher. They went out and, they signed another dude too. But them moves don't matter to me as much as some of these other ones. But Saquon Barkley specifically, if the Eagles offensive line is back to being a great offensive line running and blocking, I do think the biggest thing is not really Saquon. I'm going to be honest with you. To me, the biggest thing is Jalen Hurts have to take another step. So I went back and I watched some Jalen Hurts film. I've been watching film of the Eagles the last year. And Jalen Hurts did look worse this year than he looked in the previous year. And I do think one of the reasons is because some defenses did just understand how to play Jalen Hurts. But I think one of the biggest reasons also, one of the reasons teams felt like they figured him out is because the running game was not as explosive as it was in that previous year. Not to mention the pass game did take a step back, but I don't think that was just Jalen Hurts. I think that was the injuries that they dealt with throughout the season and yada, yada, yada. However, I do understand. I did watch the tape and understand what people were saying when they say they don't think that Jalen Hurts really do read the field that great. And I do see what you're saying. I looked at the film and it's a lot of throws that they already have, like preconceived throws that you know they're going to make. They run certain routes that Jalen Hurts can just look at it and know if they're going to be open or not and throw that go ball. Certain slants and dig routes that they run. So I understand when people say that they don't think Jalen Hurts can sit back in the pocket and actually break down a defense with his eyes. I do think that's a part of his game he's going to have to improve in. I would not say at this moment. Because here's the thing. I don't think Jalen Hurts is terrible at reading a defense. But I do understand what people are saying when they say he's not the greatest at reading the defense. I saw what people were saying in that aspect or in that regard when I watched film. However, it's people walking around acting like he reading the field like Justin Fields or something. That's just not what's going on now. So y'all got to calm down with that. Also, maybe Jalen Hurts was also dealing with an injury last year. I'm not going to write that out of the question, but I'm also not going to give him an excuse. I understand this type of talent. When you surrounded by this type of talent, bro, it's just very hard to give you an excuse. Unless this talent is just, I mean, I don't even think really that these dudes can play bad and we would give Jalen Hurts an excuse. They would have to be hurt and not be able to play at all if we was going to give Jalen Hurts an excuse. And then I still think there's people out there who would have been like, well, this is why you get paid the big bucks, to put your team. And I really hate this for him because it's examples of Josh Allen playing with less than talent. Lamar Jackson having to play with less than talent. Pat Mahomes having to play with less. So I understand people bring those up as the examples almost immediately. But, you know, if I'm being fair, if dudes get hurt, that is an excuse. However, outside that happening, yeah, I agree with the critics. This is the year that Jalen Hurts have to come. He got to go hard. He got to figure it out. The pressure is on him and Nick Sirianni. I saw somebody say that too. They was like, the pressure is all the way on Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. I agree with that. You got to figure it out because Howie done his job. You really can't do much better as a GM than what he done. You needed receivers, we got you those. You needed a running back, we got you that. You needed offensive lineman, we got you that. And now he fixing the defensive side of the ball. I just think, not to mention, let's keep in mind, let's say they don't fix the defense. Or let's say they make moves to fix the defense, but it don't like drastically improve the defense, but it's incrementally better. I still don't see people giving Jalen Hurts an excuse because they're going to be like, well, what other team got everything perfect on both sides of the ball for him? You still get paid the big bucks. And to an extent, I agree with that. Because sometimes both sides of the ball are not always going to be great. That's just the reality. Also, my biggest reason I can't give him the excuse is because I don't give Joe Burrow an excuse for having the type of talent he had around him and not winning a Super Bowl. I don't give Dak Prescott an, and that's really what it's going to come to, I think. Unfortunately, or fortunately for Joe Burrow, because everybody like him, you just know how it is with the white quarterback. They're going to look back on his career and say he had missed opportunities when he had great players around him. For Dak and Jalen Hurts, they are going to immediately start saying that if they don't have success. Like, look at how they talk about Dak. Nobody got faith in Dak, and it got to a point where it was like, what more can we do for Dak Prescott? We done gotten you two great receivers. We got you a run game. We got you an offensive line. We got a defense. We got you the head coach that's got us 12 plus wins in multiple years. Like, what more can we do for Dak Prescott? At what point in time is Dak Prescott required to raise his level of play to get us over the mountaintop? Everything can't go perfect for you. When is Dak Prescott going to raise his level of play? And when is we going to be able to look at a playoff game and be like, Dak Prescott got us there? See, that's the thing that's going to eventually happen to Jalen Hurts. With all the talent that Howie Roseman done acquired and gathered in Philly, people going to eventually say if he can't get it done, you know, Jalen Hurts might not be that guy. He might not deserve that contract because how much more can you do for Jalen Hurts? What more can you put around Jalen Hurts to help them get over that hump? And, you know, it is very rare that you see this many quarterbacks whose team put together these type of weapon offensive cores around them. Like Joe Burrow had Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon. Dak had a great offensive line, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Zeke, Tony Pollard, great offensive coordinator. Jalen Hurts, obviously he had that crazy core he had a couple years ago, but now he has Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, a great offensive line, Dallas Goedert. So, and Dalton Schultz was a great tight end in Dallas. So these is pretty crazy, like outrageously talented receiving groups and just offensive cores all together. None of them have won a Super Bowl, 2 of them have been to a Super Bowl, though. I think that's why we ultimately give Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts more grace, even though people done turned on Jalen Hurts already. Even though Joe Burrow and them boys really ain't sniffed another Super Bowl since, going to that one. But some reason people don't really care about that. We still act like he done been to a Super Bowl every year, his career, like he Pat Mahomes or something like that. But that's neither here nor there. It's going to get interesting for the Bengals because T. Higgins requested a trade. And I told you a couple years ago, bro, I said at some point in time, the clock is ticking on Joe Burrow. And it's ticking on Jalen Hurts now also. Because you're not going to have all this talent around you eventually. And now the time has come where Joe Burrow is not about to have all this offensive talent around him. Now it's about to be just him, Jamar Chase, and they'll probably ace the draft with receivers. But let's say they don't get other number 1 receiver type guys like they just had. Now people double teaming Jamar Chase on a regular basis. Now everything don't come as easy as it used to be because defenses don't have to be ready to defend Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon. So I'm very interested to see how everything turned out for the Cincinnati Bengals. Because not too many people talking about it. I did see Shannon Sharp talk about it on Nightcap a couple shows ago. But the Cincinnati Bengals basically blew this chance when they had all this type of offensive talent around. Because it's hard to argue that they did not have the most talented receiving core in the NFL the last couple years. And they got to that Super Bowl and haven't been back. And I told you, with how great Jamar Chase is, with how great T. Higgins is, and how young T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are, and how close the contracts is of when they were drafted, both of them not going to be on this team at the same time for too much longer. And with Joe Burrow getting paid, you was going to have to make an option. You was going to choose Jamar Chase because that's who Joe Burrow played with in college. But the clock was ticking on when you had to win a Super Bowl with the type of talent, not on just winning the Super Bowl for your career, because obviously you always got an opportunity at that, but it was winning a Super Bowl with the type of talent that you had surrounding you at the time. Now, if you're a Cincinnati Bengal fan, you shouldn't be too worried because Cincinnati draft receivers very well. I mean, I really hate to give them that type of credit, but that's just one of the better teams at drafting receivers. So I imagine they'll find another great receiver in the draft. Which is why it's insane to me that they won't let T. Higgins go find a... But to be honest with you, what they're trying to do is probably correct the mistake that they made of not trading him last year. And they probably desperate to try to find a way to trade him now. But other teams know, like, yo, y'all not going to pay him a long-term extension, bro. You only hurt your own selves if you keep trying to franchise tag him. So they probably not getting the greatest offers that they expect to get for T. Higgins. But you can blame that on bad management. Because you knew last year that T. Higgins wasn't coming back. Well, not even that he wasn't coming back. You knew you couldn't afford to bring him back. Because you knew you wasn't going to pay him a big contract, Jamar Chase a big contract, Joe Burrow a big contract. You know you wasn't doing that. And also having to pay those studs on the defensive side, the pass rushers. Wasn't possible. So I hope T. Higgins land on his feet. I know the franchise tag is a big number, but it don't provide you the security that most NFL players want. Now, where he could be traded to is interesting because the Panthers just traded for Johnson from the Steelers, and that don't really move the needle for me. I do think it was time for Johnson to get a fresh start somewhere else, and he'll, if he a big problem what I'm having with Steelers players the last couple years is they keep getting receivers that you trade for them and you say, I mean, if they heart is in it, if they want to play, then they could be a great player for you. You did it with Chase Claypool. Now we're doing it with Johnson. So once again, if Johnson is there and he want to play and he want to be a great player, he want to be a great teammate, I think that the Panthers might have got a good number 2 receiver. If he on the shit he was on when he was in Pittsburgh, who knows what you just traded for? I still think that they need to try to make a trade for T. Higgins. And the thing with the Panthers is you traded up for a first-round pick last year to get Bryce. You gave away all your capital for this year. You earned the first pick in the draft this year, and you won't get it, and you desperately need it. They have to find a GM or stick with the GM that they have. They got to find creative ways to get better. And when I say they got to find creative ways to get better, I'm talking about you got to nail these late draft picks. You have to take chances late in the draft that possibly you wouldn't have took, any other type of day, because the road to being better for the Panthers is a long, tough road. If you look at how other teams are, the thing for them is that they play in the NFC. If they played in the AFC, this would be a very tough road to try to conquer because there's so many talented quarterbacks and teams in the AFC. But you play in the NFC. Not to mention, who knows? You could finish last in the division again in the NFL again this year and actually get the first pick in the draft next year. And that will do a lot to speed up your recovery because we're not going to act like it can't happen. The Texans was bad for 2-3 years. They was a laughing stock. Boom, CJ Stroud. So it can happen with the Panthers. But the Panthers have to find what they have to get people in the building that know football and let the football people make the football decisions. The owner got to get out of this, bro. He got to let football decision makers make decisions for the football team, because to get back what you got back for the players that you traded away is laughable. Most people get fired for that type shit. To now be considered the worst owner in the NFL after what? A year or two? Is crazy. So the Panthers don't look like they headed in a good direction right now. However, like I said, if their GM and scouts and things like that, if they can nail at least 2 to 3 players, you don't even need to nail players and have them become superstars. You need players to become big time contributors. Every great player is not great because of just their skill set alone, like they some generational talent. Some great players is great because they fit a scheme and they give you so much production, even with the probably limited skill set they might have. So if you can get you 2 players that are super productive for the Panthers and you find you a gem in the draft to start rebuilding, you do a lot for yourself, because if you cannot figure out how to find dudes that can fill in gaps because of how productive they are, then it take a long time to rebuild your team, because now you're relying on free agency. Now you're relying on the high round in the draft every year. You got to be able to hit the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round type picks. You got to find gems late in those areas. You got to be willing to take a risk on players who might be first round talents but fall late in the draft because of off the field issues or something. Then the type of players that the Carolina Panthers have to be willing to go after now, because the Panthers to me, they kind of like the Raiders of the NFC. Because when you look at the Raiders, you move over to the Raiders side of things. I like signing Christian Wilkins if it was any other team possibly. Because to me, when I look at the Raiders, it's so many things that they need right now to be a better team. I don't understand not trading away Devontae Adams to a team that's ready to win right now, because Devontae Adams don't do nothing for the Raiders. You don't have a quarterback. I don't care that people keep I don't have people tell me, no, they shouldn't get rid of Max Crosby. I refuse to agree with that, because I had somebody talking to me the other day say, see, this is further proof you don't get rid of Max Crosby because now you sign Wilkes. Imagine the defense they're going to be. I imagine both of those two dudes will be great together. However, they probably going to have, 8 wins? And I'm being very generous in giving them 8 wins. 8 wins is not getting you a playoff spot in the AFC. I doubt that it'll get you a playoff spot in the NFC, but it definitely ain't getting you one in the AFC. And so, because they still have so many areas on that team that need to be better, I don't really understand paying a defensive tackle $140 million when you probably should have spread that out to 2 or 3 other players. Because it's not and I understand not going after 2, 3 mediocre players. I get that. But I just feel like it was probably other deals out there that could have brought in 2 other good to great level players that could still have a lot left in the tank, or that's still young, that could have done more. Because Christian Wilkes is 28 or 29. He a defensive tackle. And yes, he is a great defensive tackle, but his breakout was probably last year and the year before that. He is now 29. It's not like he 26, 28, 22, 25, 20, something like that. He 28 or 29. You already have Max Crosby, who is the better player. And I understand having 2 great players on your defensive line, but you need linebackers. You need secondary help. You need running back help now because you let your running back go. You need offensive line help. You need a quarterback. Like, it's so many different areas on the Raiders that's bad. I don't really understand signing Christian Wilkins to that type of contract. Also, they signed Gardner Minshew. Now, if that's who they plan on having start the season for them, I mean, this is just getting out of hand. This is truly getting out of hand. I don't understand, bro. I'm imagining Gardner Minshew going to be the starter for the Raiders this year. Meaning the Raiders are probably going to be an average to below average team. Who knows what Gardner gives you this year? But the fact that that's the fallback option, and maybe they draft somebody in the draft. Who knows what happened with the Raiders? It still is an incomplete thing because we don't know what they're doing at the quarterback position. But I just feel like it was so many different areas on this team that could have been improved before you gave. I feel like right now it's 3 players sitting on the Raiders that don't need to be on the Raiders. Max Crosby, Devontae Adams, and the dude they just signed, Christian Wilkes. Because on most teams, you would say that's 3 great cornerstone pieces to have. But on most teams, when you would say that, you probably have a great quarterback already. You probably have a good enough offensive line. You probably have a good head coach. And you probably have a good enough defense to where Christian Wilkes is the piece that you add that take you over the top, not just make you a little better. He take you over the top. So to me, maybe if you said the Ravens signed him or the Chiefs signed him or the Browns maybe, or, a team that we know is a Super Bowl contending team right now, or a team that's quite possibly on the fringe of being a Super Bowl contender. If the Lions had signed him, I don't really understand the Raiders because I don't see the vision with the Raiders right now. And maybe that's just me, but I don't see it. Another move that I don't want to say I don't like the move. How do I feel it? I don't really know how to feel about the move, to be honest with you. Geno Stone signing with the Bengals. I don't really know how to feel about the move. Geno Stone obviously had a good year for the Ravens last year, but once again, great defensive coordinator, a lot of great players around him, put him in good positions. However, I do feel like watching Geno Stone, it was a lot of great improvements that he made last year. I still think sometimes he get lost out there in coverage or in space. And I don't think he like an upper echelon safety, but if he improve off of what he did last year, he definitely will still be a top tier type safety. So I think it was a good signing for the Bengals. Now, do it correct you losing Jesse Bates, a better safety, a year before that? No. But you had to make a move regardless because you needed safety help. Plus, I trust Lou Anarumo to put Geno in the right position. So both Ravens who went to opposing ops is going to be very interesting how they turn out for their new teams. I'm trying to think. Let's think of some more. And I'll probably do a part 2 episode to this. I don't know how I forgot about Derrick Henry going to the Ravens. That's big for me. Now, I've seen people say, like I saw Ryan Clark say he don't really think this move make the Ravens that much better in a sense that he add what they already have because they was already a good run team. That's where I be knowing people don't actually watch all the games. Because anybody who watched the Ravens the last couple years would have understood The Ravens have no consistency from the running back position. The only running game consistency that they have had is from Lamar Jackson. Gus Edwards be hurt, or he just, sometimes you might get good production. Sometimes it's a dud. Who knows what you get from the others? JK always hurt. So Derrick Henry, in my opinion, is a huge upgrade from what the Ravens done had in the past. I don't even think it's close, to be completely honest with you. That's how much better I think Derrick Henry is than the options that the Ravens done had with Lamar Jackson at running back, the running backs they done had playing behind Lamar Jackson since Lamar Jackson done been in the league. Like, the best running back to this point has still been Mark Ingram. And that was a couple years ago now. So I think this could be another one of those moves that that the Ravens sign a vet running back late in his career, and he give them 1 or 2 great years. I think Derrick Henry going to have 2 great years. He led the league in rushing last year. He was great after contact. He played behind a far worse in offensive line than what the Ravens have. He played behind a terrible offensive structure over there in Tennessee and still did what he did. So Derrick Henry going to have a lot easier time running the ball in Baltimore. So, and that's the thing that I think. If Derrick Henry is what he done been throughout his career in Baltimore, an 1,000-yard plus runner, the Baltimore Ravens did just become a better team, because people who was complaining about them not running the ball in the AFC Championship game last year, I couldn't complain about them not running the ball. They had Gus Edwards and and Justice Hill, bro. That is not, bro. I don't care about the good moments they done had throughout the year or this and that. Those are not 2 running backs who I'm finna put my season on their shoulders. Now with Derrick Henry, you can convince me. Give him the ball and let him cook. But with them other 2, nah. I'm willing to die off of Lamar Jackson. And I'm still willing to die off of Lamar Jackson. But now you got Derrick Henry, and that's a player who you also willing to get a rock to. And you okay with the results. And if he stays healthy, listen, the sky is the limit for the Baltimore Ravens. Because people keep saying, oh, they didn't always had a good run. They have had a good offensive run game. But that was because of Lamar Jackson and running back by committee. It wasn't because one running back was dominant and you could trust that running. Other teams did not come into the game planning for the Ravens running backs. They didn't say, oh, we got to stop JK. Oh, we got to stop Gus Edwards. They come into the game now not only being able to say we got to stop Lamar Jackson. Now we got to find ways to stop Derrick Henry. Now, some team's going to say we got to figure out ways to contain Zay Flowers. Mark Andrews. It's more weapons for Lamar Jackson so that all the pressure is not all. Because one of the things that I don't think people paid attention to last year, one of the things that held the Ravens back at certain times that made them sluggish, is the lack of a consistent run game. People wanted to talk about the pass game. Sometimes the pass game would be stopped because people knew that's the only thing they could do because they wasn't getting production out of their running backs. And I always say, bro, at some point in time, it cannot just be scheme. You can't out-scheme everybody. At some point in time, the players just have to be better. They have to make plays. If you could just beat everybody off a scheme, Kyle Shanahan would have been a Super Bowl championship coach multiple times over. The fact of the matter is, at some point in time, you just got to go out there and get it done. Pat Mahomes say, fuck a scheme, fuck the stats, and fuck all the analytics. At some point in time, you just got to go out there, man up, and get it done. Simple as that. And so Derrick Henry is a running back who can just go out there and get it done. You don't have to keep scheming him up. You don't have to keep scheming up the offense to try to find ways to get the running game going. You can hand Derrick Henry the ball and say, go to work. And he gonna get his lunch pail and his jacket and go to work. So the Ravens got significantly better offensively. Not only do you get all of that, what you hope you get now is consistency and reliability at the running back position. Now Lamar Jackson is hopefully not going into every week wondering who is going to be lined up behind him. You hope Keaton Mitchell come back healthy next year and can play behind Derrick Henry, but now you're just happy that you have a consistent running back who can go get it done, who don't need Lamar Jackson to go run for 190, 80 plus yards a game. Now you have a running back who you know can go do that off of his history and off of just last year. So I think that was a great move for the Ravens. I really wish they had brought in Aaron Jones also, but I understand you ain't paying 2 running backs that type of bread. But I think what this does for Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson, bro, you go into a game now knowing you got 2 great tight ends. You got Zay Flowers, a great receiver, and you have a legitimate number 1 running back who can go out there and be a bell cow on days where you need him to. This changes how you call a game if you're the Ravens now. Not only that, I do think it helps with the secondary receiver. I don't have faith in Rashad Bateman still. I know it's still bozo Raven fans out there who still tweeting out, "This the year Rashad Bateman breakout." They've been tweeting that every fucking year of his career. I think that now you can go get a number 2 receiver that's obviously better than Rashad Bateman, but he ain't otherworldly possibly. He probably not multi-dimensional great, but he great at certain things. And that'll help the offense tremendously because you're going to get a boost in a lot of these receivers going to be playing on one-on-one coverage. Because it's going to be hard to not load the box with Lamar and Derrick Henry on certain games. You're going to want to do that. And so that's going to leave a lot of dudes one-on-one. You got to win your matchups now. So to be a Ravens receiver right now, got to be good. Because you're getting a lot of one-on-ones right now with Derrick Henry on the team. I think this drastically changes the Ravens offense. I think the Ravens could be like a 30 plus. They could be damn near touching 40 on a weekly basis scoring wise this year. And I do think this is a thing that can get them over the Chiefs hump because you couldn't hand the ball to those running backs last year and expect them to just beat the Chiefs. You couldn't. They didn't have no faith in them. Now you got faith in Derrick Henry. Those Chiefs players kept talking about stopping Lamar Jackson. You didn't hear them motherfuckers say stop him and nobody else. I guarantee you now if they play him, they saying, okay, now we got to stop Lamar Jackson. They might got respect for Zay Flowers after the game he had, but they most definitely going to have respect for Derrick fucking Henry. So that was a great move by the Ravens. I thought going into the offseason they should have signed one of those top running backs on the market. Because like I said at the end of the season, man, the Ravens desperately need consistency at that running back position. I've been screaming about the receiver and the pass rusher for a long time. But the fact that the Ravens had got so bad because it was hard to notice it if you don't watch the Ravens because you just look at the stats. You hear the stats about how good they run. But when you watch them, you say, man, they have had no consistency at this running back position since Mark Ingram. Like every year they have to play like 2, 3, 4 different running backs to start at different points in time in the season. You cannot rely on that. You don't want to have to rely on that, having a multitude of running backs on a yearly basis, on a game-to-game basis. You want to know you turning around and handing it to one dude, that you and this one dude got a whole bunch of chemistry together and know how to play together. Not to mention, Gus Edwards was great in the red zone. He wasn't really great nowhere else. And I understand how great Lamar was and how that threw people off because you had to defend him so the other dudes broke loose at times. But now think about how much Lamar Jackson going to be even better now because he got Derrick Henry. Because they can't just say we load the box to stop Lamar. Now they got to pay attention to Derrick Henry because he could take it the distance on you. Or you know what he do when he keep getting better throughout the game. So I just think this changed. To me, a lot of teams got significantly better with different moves they made in the offseason so far. And the Ravens was one of them. And I think a couple of the moves that a lot of different teams who made great moves, the Ravens being one, the draft is really going to significantly improve some of these teams based off of how they draft in the NFL draft. And I don't know if the Ravens done making moves. I would not expect that they are done making moves, but the Texans, the Ravens, the Packers, those is 3 teams that make the Eagles. Those teams made a lot of great moves in these opening days of free agency. And when they head to the draft, bro, it's not like they having to do you know what I'm saying? Like the Eagles want to fix the secondary. The Ravens might want to go out and get an offensive lineman, possibly maybe a running back. I mean, not a running back, a receiver. Maybe they draft another cornerback to play opposite. I mean, to groom a corner. I mean, maybe they got options on what they can do to what they want to do to get better. The Texans can go out and what do they want to draft? Maybe they got a great linebacker, but maybe they want to add another off-ball linebacker or outside linebacker. I mean, maybe they want to add another piece in the secondary. Like a lot of these teams got significantly better throughout free agency to where they have options when the draft rolls around on what they want to do to get better in the draft. And that's really what make an offseason good is when it's not when players just signing for crazy money, even though that's one of my favorite parts, if not my favorite, because I like these dudes being able to sign for big money, being able to change their life, bro. I just think that's dope, being able to change your family's life through your hard work and you being rewarded for it. So that's the best part of free agency. But the next best part is when these dudes sign with teams that you know they will have a significant impact on this team. That's why I like where Saquon signed, because Saquon going to have an impact on the Eagles. Josh Jacobs should have an impact on the Packers. King Henry is going to have an impact with the Ravens. Like, so many of these players sign with teams where they are going to make big time impacts for these teams. Like Joe Mixon and Danielle Hunter will have an impact for the Texans. Austin Eckler, I do think, will have an impact for the Commanders, but it's so many things working against him that's out of his control on him being successful there. I hate that he did what he did for the Chargers and they decided not to pay him. That's one of the ugly parts of being a running back. You could put up the type of statistics and production that Austin Eckler put up with the Chargers. And really, he was one of the biggest reasons Justin Herbert was as good as he was. And you could still get thrown to the curb like they threw him to the curb. You could take all the pay cuts in the world like Joe Mixon took and still get thrown to the curb. It's crazy. But shout out to all these running backs, bro. The running backs, they got paid. And a lot of great moves was made. There will definitely be a part 2 because it was probably some moves that I didn't address. It was probably some subjects I wanted to touch on a little bit more. There will be a part 2. But with that being said, I appreciate you for joining me on another episode of Kicking It with Saint. Tell somebody you fuck with him. Tell somebody you love him. You can be anything in the world. Choose to be kind to somebody today. Like, subscribe, share. Saint out.
I have fought the good fight and I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Well, I've fought a good fight. I've finished my football race. And after 18 years, it's time. God bless all of you, and God bless football.
I got the moves like hot sauce. Lil' mama taking the top off. I'm laying down getting topped off. After this, she know she getting knocked off. I know she loving the money, so I keep on thumbing and thumbing. She say she horny when she taking shots, so I keep them coming and coming. Now I'm putting dick in her tummy. Scoop her up like I'm raking her something. You would think shawty red track, the way that she running and running. You getting dumber and dumber. You out here chasing the bone. After she finished from giving me dome, the Uber is taking her home. Tight.